The spark of war. The stars had never felt more distant. Humanity, a young species in the vast and ancient galaxy, had been growing stronger with each passing decade. Their technological advancements had begun to rival even the most established and ancient empires. In the eyes of the galaxy's older species, they were an unproven threat, a species still learning how to handle the vast power at their fingertips. But the caravans, a brutal and warrior-like race, saw this as something that needed to be eradicated before it became a serious challenge. The caravans had been around for millennia. They had fought in countless wars and held dominance over many sectors of the galaxy, and they were not about to let a young, upstart species disrupt their reign. Krygar, the warlord who led them, decided that humanity had to be crushed before they became a problem. He saw the humans' rapid expansion as a threat to the caravan way of life, and as far as he was concerned, the best way to deal with a threat was to eliminate it entirely. The caravan warships descended upon humanity's colonies without warning, their bombers releasing devastating payloads onto the unsuspecting human cities. Krygar watched from his flagship, his cold gaze fixed on the destruction below. He believed he had succeeded in breaking the spirit of humanity, eradicating any will they had to fight back. The caravans knew war, and they had no doubt that this assault would end the human threat once and for all. But what Krygar did not know was that humans were far more resilient than he could ever have imagined. For centuries, humanity had struggled against countless adversities: wars, plagues, natural disasters, and even self-inflicted catastrophes. Every time they were knocked down, they rose stronger, more determined. The bombings might have shattered their cities, but they would never shatter their spirit. Something stirred in the human race, something ancient and primal. Humanity's survival instinct, honed through thousands of years of hardship, awakened. A collective rage began to grow, fueled by the unimaginable losses they had just endured. They weren't just going to rebuild. They were going to rebuild stronger. The caravans had lit a fuse that would soon explode into a fury they couldn't control. The beast unleashed. The aftermath of the bombings was devastating, but it was also the birthplace of something far more terrifying than the caravans could have anticipated. Humanity, broken and battered, began to rebuild. But the rebuilding was not simply about restoring what had been lost. It was about survival, and in the fight for survival, something changed. In the ruins of their destroyed colonies, a select few humans began to exhibit extraordinary physical abilities. At first, it was subtle: heightened senses, increased strength, the ability to heal at an accelerated rate. But as the weeks passed, these abilities grew. Entire groups of humans began to show signs of near superhuman strength, speed, and agility. Their senses became sharper, their reactions faster, their minds more calculating. The bombings had done more than destroy cities. They had triggered a genetic response that had been dormant for centuries. The human race had always been known for their ability to adapt quickly to their environment. But now, they were adapting in ways that went beyond anything anyone had ever seen. Humans were becoming something else. They were becoming the beasts. The first of these beasts, those who had been changed the most by the bombings, became the leaders of the human resistance. These individuals had been ordinary men and women, scientists, soldiers, engineers, before the destruction. But now they were extraordinary. They could lift entire tanks with their bare hands. They could leap great distances, their bodies moving faster than the eye could follow. They could sense the faintest of sounds, the slightest of movements across great distances. The caravans, unaware of the transformation taking place, continued their campaign with brutal efficiency. They believed they had broken the human will, but in doing so they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The beasts, now taking control of the human forces, began to strike back. Their attacks were swift, brutal, and unexpected. They tore through caravan defenses like paper, and with every victory their numbers grew. The beasts were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for vengeance. Humanity had been wronged, and they would make the caravans pay. For every life lost, for every city destroyed. The beasts were no longer human in the traditional sense. They had transcended that, becoming a force of nature. The galaxy would soon learn the true cost of underestimating humanity. The reckoning as the weeks passed, the caravans began to realize the true scale of the mistake they had made. Krygar, once confident that the humans would bow to their superior strength, watched as his empire began to crumble under the relentless onslaught of the beasts. Human ships, now equipped with reverse-engineered caravan technology, tore through the caravan fleet with ease. The beasts, leading the charge, fought with a brutal and primal intensity, ripping through caravan soldiers as though they were little more than paper targets. But what terrified Krygar even more than the beasts was the humans' ability to adapt. The caravans were warriors, skilled in the art of war. But humanity was something different. Humans were survivors. They learned, they evolved, they adapted. The caravans might have had better technology and superior numbers, but humanity had something far more dangerous, an unyielding will to survive and grow. As the battles raged across the galaxy, the caravans found themselves outmatched. Their fleets were being systematically destroyed, their soldiers annihilated by the fury of the human resistance. The beasts were unstoppable, and Krygar knew that he was losing, but he refused to accept it. He had underestimated humanity, but he was not yet ready to concede defeat. Krygar, desperate to salvage what little remained of his empire, called for reinforcements, an armada that would dwarf anything the humans had ever seen. He was determined to crush the human resistance, once and for all. But what he didn't know was that he was about to face humanity's greatest weapon. The hidden weapon. The caravans had made one critical mistake. They had focused all their efforts on destroying humanity's cities, its infrastructure, and its colonies, never once considering the one thing that could turn the tide of the war, the minds of humanity. While the beasts fought on the front lines, humanity's engineers, scientists, and strategists were quietly working behind the scenes. They had studied caravan technology, dissecting the invaders' ships, weapons, and tactics. They had adapted, they had learned, and they had developed new weapons capable of dismantling caravan fleets. The beasts were the hammer, but the human intellect was the anvil. As the caravans readied their reinforcements, humanity unleashed its own hidden weapon, a fleet of ships powered by newly designed technologies, capable of bypassing caravan shields and obliterating their armor. The human fleet was small, but it was far more deadly than anything the caravans had ever encountered. As Asha Legrand, once a scientist, now a commander of the human fleet, led her forces into battle, she knew that this was humanity's moment. The caravans had underestimated them once, and now they would pay for it. Asha, one of the beasts herself, had become a living symbol of humanity's power, a testament to the species' adaptability and strength. Her fleet was ready, and she had no intention of letting the caravans retreat. The final battle. The battle raged in the depths of caravan space, the very heart of their empire. Asha's fleet clashed with the incoming caravan reinforcements in a battle that shook the very foundations of the galaxy. The beasts fought on, the front lines, their enhanced abilities turning the tide of battle in humanity's favor. But the true turning point came when Asha herself led a daring assault on Krygar's flagship. The caravans had thought their flagship invulnerable, a symbol of their might and power. But Asha and her fleet had other plans. With precision and fury, they breached the flagship's defenses, tearing through caravan ships with ease. As they reached the core of the flagship, Asha faced Krygar himself. The caravan warlord, broken and defeated, had no words left. He had lost everything, his fleet, his empire, and his pride. The humans had won. A new dawn with Krygar's fall. The caravan empire was shattered. But the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity, once considered weak and untested, had proven themselves to be more than just survivors. They were conquerors, innovators, and warriors. The beasts had unleashed a force that no one had expected, and now the galaxy would have to reckon with it. As Asha stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars unfold before her, she realized that humanity had not only survived, they had transcended. They were no longer just a young species fighting for survival. They were the future of the galaxy. The caravans had thought bombing human colonies would be their victory. Instead, they had unleashed